What's going on, fam? It's CJ, and we are here today to talk about life/love after lockup. But before we do that, really quickly, I do want to send my thoughts and prayers to the people of Texas who are really going through it at this time. The winter weather that we have been experiencing has been extremely unkind to our family there. So I do want you to know that we love you and our thoughts and prayers are with you. And if you're watching this video and you know of any ways that you can support, there are tons of organizations who are taking donations for the people of Texas. And if you come across one that's legit and if it's on your heart to help out, I definitely encourage you to do so. Now that we have talked about that, let's get into this review, which is season 3, episode 31. And they call this episode, It's Toe or Never. And for obvious reasons that we will definitely get into. So I'm going to start with who I figured was most interesting all the way down to the least, because y'all don't watch the video all the way to the end, no way. So I think we need to just go ahead and talk about the good stuff up front. And this week's, it was a tie between the number one contender, but since they actually got physical, I will give the number one spot to Chevelle and Quaylon. Now, Chevelle, she is newly engaged and she is just in seventh heaven. She is just on this high. She says, even though we are engaged, this is what I've been waiting on for 2.5 years. Quaylon and I need to set some ground rules because I'm not going to have him back in these streets doing what he was doing. So we have to take baby steps. And by baby steps, she basically means that, she needs to have access to his phone, has to have the passcodes. She probably wants his social media, login information, and everything else because she wants to make sure that there is no foolery to be had or to go on. Quaylon, at first, he tried to contend it. He was like, why you need all that? But then he realizes this is what she will need to feel comfortable or to feel secure. If you got to go through all of that, I don't necessarily think that that's going to help you. But he says, okay. Now, she also tells him that I feel like you ought to get your own hotel room for the night because we don't need to be jumping in the sack like that. We just got back together. Quaylon was a little upset because he had planned on hitting those skins. And since he couldn't do so, he left and he meets a very disgruntled D-Mark in the hallway. And D-Mark, is still wanting to know why he's there. And he just thinks that, he needs to go on about his business. And Quaylon tells him that, I proposed to Chevelle. We're getting married now. So really is nothing you can do about it. And they start arguing back and forth. And this argument quickly turned into action. And by action, I just meant an ultimate shoving match. They were just pushing one another. Nobody swung. And we had security that jumped in right away because they knew, okay, we need to jump in because this can turn bad. It's got the potential, even though all they were doing was pushing each other back and forth. And then we see Chevelle come out and Chevelle went Hulk style. Like she got so crazy looking. Like the look on her face was just crazy. And she pushes D-Mark out further into the hallway, getting him away from Quaylon, and the producer was able to hold Quaylon back. So they were causing all this ruckus in this establishment, in this hotel hallway, and that was the end of that. And then the next day, Quaylon comes to her room, and she basically lets him know that she was mad. She understands that men will be men and they got beef, they got animosity, but they don't need to be displaying that kind of actions in front of Maela. I forget her name, but Quaylon apologizes for that. And she wants D-Mark to also apologize. So they get downstairs where D-Mark is waiting because I guess they're all getting ready to leave. And D-Mark just asked her, you know, what's up with him saying that y'all are engaged? So y'all are engaged now, which I think is very crazy for him to be checking her like that. I understand, you know, this is cuz or supposed to be cuz. Aren't they like play cousins? Because I feel like he is putting way too much energy into her relationship. I'm thinking that D-Mark secretly wants him some Chevelle. He's got feelings for her, and to see her, you know, being used or neglected by this other guy is just too much for him to see, because this is getting physical at this point. And I don't know. I mean, I have cousins, but I don't know any of my cousins that are going to come and fight, you know, my man or something because they don't like him. I don't know, but I do think that he secretly is like in love with her or something. It's just very strange. But she makes them hug in front of the little girl to show her that everything is all good. And they get into the car and they go home. And what D-Mark, he also said he wouldn't have come if he knew that all this was going down, which further, you know, led me to believe that he got some feelings for your girl Chevelle. And our runner-up for the most interesting story of the day goes to Sean and Destiny. Now, Sean, we show him, he's sitting off in the cut, just kind of watching, you know, he's watching and waiting on the tow truck driver to get there. He is so afraid. He's like, please don't let Destiny come out before this man gets here, because I just kind of want to do grab and go. He just wants to get the car and he wants to leave, because he knows that it's going to be all kind of static if Destiny comes outside and sees him trying to take the car. So the tow truck driver comes, and while we're waiting on him, you know, Sean finally, after all this time, he has finally come to the realization that he has been used this entire time. It took this moment for him to see that, okay, all he was a come up for Destiny while she was in prison, and for her to get as much as she could get from him while she was out. And we just gonna say that Sean is slow. He's a little delayed in the head, so we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because he's not as sharp as he ought to be. So anyway, you know, he says, if it's over, that's cool. That's fine. It can be over. However, it's going to be over and my car is going to be in my possession. You're not going to leave me, give me my ring back and, you know, max out my credit card and think you're going to roll around in my car. That's what's not going to happen. So he's taking it back. Destiny, she comes out as the tow truck driver is hooking the car and he's getting it onto the bed. And her sister, she and her sister are out going off. They're going off on Sean, asking him, why is he taking her car? They kept referring to this car that she does not pay for as her car. And Sean's like, well, if we're not together anymore, this is my car. He was like, the car is in my name, because the tow truck driver wanted to know where the keys were. And Sean was like, I don't have them, but it's my car. And I guess he was willing to prove that it was his car. So she comes out acting a complete fool. He gets the car on the bed of the truck. She jumps up there and starts talking about, you know, you are not taking my car. You know, she was calling him all kind of pieces of shit. I mean, it was just terrible. She was just talking bad to him. Even the sister got in on it and was talking crazy to Sean. And, you know, she tries to guilt trip him. She's like, okay, so you're going to take the only form of transportation that I have to get around. You going to take it. And then he's like, yeah, we're not together anymore. So that's not my problem at this point. So then she tries a different angle. She gets angry and she threatens. She tells him he better keep all his cars locked up in the garage because she's going to tear him up, F him up or whatever, you know, threatening him on camera. But she don't care because she said she was willing to go back to jail or about him for beating his ass or whatever. So she does not care. And so Destiny, she's on top of the car, and then she tells him that her stuff is in the car. And so she thought that this was just a brilliant plan. She's like, my stuff is in the car. And he's like, okay, well, get it out. She was like, I can't get it out. It's in the trunk. And you need to let the car down so I can get it out. He was like, well, you got the keys, pop the trunk. She was like, no, put the car down and I'll go and pop the trunk and get my stuff out. Destiny probably intended on getting in that car and driving off. So it didn't work because Sean was able to open up the car door and pop the trunk. And her ass kept trying to shut it down. And she was trying to close the trunk. And he kept popping it. So she was like, you piece of shit. Like, she was so mad. So she grabbed her stuff and she left. But she said that it's not over, that she is going to get on his ass. So really quickly, I want to talk about Lamar and Andrea. They just had a quick little scene. We see it's date night. Lamar is taking Andrea on a date. They hadn't been on a date in a long time. And she says that Lamar doesn't even know how to plan dates. So she's afraid to see how this is going to go. And while she's getting ready, Lamar pulls up in like this Jeep of some sort. And he says that he bought this for Andrea. He knows that, you know, she likes nice things. And, you know, the music game has been a little good to him right now. He's been making money off of his music. Has anybody listened to what's his name? Baby Nut Dog. I forget what his name is. I follow him on Instagram, and he doesn't really post his music on there, so I don't know what to say or how to feel about it because I don't ever hear it. But have y'all heard it? What do y'all think about it? Anyway, you know, Tennyson comes out and Tennyson is like, this is really nice, but I think my mom will find a reason to be mad about it because they know Andrea is always going to show her butt. But surprisingly, Andrea comes out and she is very, very, you know, surprised. And she is grateful for the gift. She's happy that her man has bought her a new car. Side note, it was bird doodle all over the hood of that car. Lamar could have went and took it through the quickie wash or something. He just slapped the bow on top of the doodle hoping we wasn't gonna see it. But it was so much up there, you couldn't help but see it. It was either bird doodle or like bullet marks or something, or hail marks. I don't know. But it looked bad. Did y'all see it? But anyway, Lamar is still my favorite of the show. And she was happy about it. And that was all we saw from them this episode. Let's see, who should we talk about next? I guess we can go ahead and talk about Puppy and Amber. You know, Amber, her mom was able to get like a travel pass and she was able to come and see her. So she was pretty happy about that, I guess. And we see Puppy. Puppy has a part-time job. She's cleaning rental homes with this other lady. And she tells her coworker that Amber has really switched up on her since getting out of prison, since they've been out of prison. When they were in prison, it was all about the two of them. They were like this. And now that they're out, you know, Amber pays her dust. Like, she don't want to really be around her. She gets mad at her. And it's just like, what's happening? But, you know, she really wants to know what's going on with that. And they go out. Amber comes to pick her up with her mom and they go out to eat. And while beforehand, Amber breaks the news to her mom that she's been seeing Sammy. And I guess Sammy is her ex and they had a really, really toxic relationship and mom wasn't here for it. Mom was like, look, I don't think that you should be doing that because y'all were very toxic with one another. I guess they were using together. They would fight. They were physical, you know, physically fighting. And they just were not good for one another. And mom doesn't want her to go back down that road. And she thinks that she'll be better off with Puppy. But I don't know. I don't understand her line of thinking either. But Amber's determined that she's going to be with Sammy, that things have changed and she's just determined to be with him. And when they go out to eat, mom brought up something that I noticed too. She brought up to Puppy that she has really lost weight Now, I don't know the time period from when they got out of prison to this scene, but Puppy did look noticeably smaller, and Puppy just credited the weight loss to the heat. I'm not really sure how, what I think about that, or, I don't know, but she just said it was hot, and I guess the heat was making her lose the weight. But they tell Mom about, the scam with Vincent and the adoption, and how Vincent is basically giving Puppy the runaround. They believe, he is full of it, and that something is going on that he's not telling telling Puppy. And Puppy lets them know at the table that she did get the adoption papers back. And so Amber's like, what? She was like, well, bitch, open them. And she was just like, well, I wanted to open them with all of y'all so we could look at it together. And so she opened it up, and lo and behold, Vince he forged this girl's signature. So Puppy did not sign the adoption papers, and so therefore they want to confront him. Well, Mom and Puppy wants to confront him. Amber's like, we just can't roll up to Vegas, on a whim and roll down there thinking that we just gonna, get on his head. We need to plan this. And Mom and Puppy are both the same amount of ignorant. So they want to roll down there and they want to get on his head. So I guess the next episode, or whenever we see them again, they'll be going to Vegas to confront Vince about lying. And who else do we have? All right. I guess we can talk about Michael and Sarah. Michael, we see him making some nasty ass looking pancakes. Them pancakes was looking some kind of struggle. And he says that he and Sarah, they sleep in the same bed and they basically smash on the regular. And he refers to their situationship as a dream world, their dream world. So in other words, it's not real. You being here with your wife and children is not real, because basically you just make it seem like you only there to screw on her and to keep her from moving on to somebody else. It's not, I'm happy I get to be around my children. I get to raise them, help raise them, in the time that I'm here, and create a life down here to where I can be near them. He didn't mention much about the children, if at all. All he talked about was fucking on Sarah. But anyway, her friend FaceTimes her, and we know the friend that is secretly in love with Sarah, that friend, she FaceTimes her, and Michael was like, oh, who's that? Is that so-and-so? She hears him in the background, and she's like, what is Michael doing here? And she's like, well, yeah, Michael has been staying here. And the girl was like, what? He's been living there. She was pissed off because she thought Sarah said that he was living there. But no, Sarah said he was staying there. And she thought it was very inappropriate for him to stay there, or inappropriate for him to stay there. She just said that he needs to stay at a hotel. He doesn't need to be there. That's just not good for, the kids. That's just, or good for Sarah. And basically, she asked Sarah if they were smashing, and Sarah lied and said no, that she's not here for any of that. So she lied to her friend. And I don't think she told her that she and Malcolm broke up because Michael is staying there and Michael is overstepping. But all that will be revealed when the friend watches the show, or who knows, I'm sure he'll mess up before this season is out. And best friend will be there to console Sarah yet again. And Sarah probably gonna get pregnant again, but we don't know. We'll see. And I think lastly, we have John and Christina. And they actually opened the episode up, but they weren't worth the number one spot. And, the episode did open up with John picking Christina up from the same place he picked her up last time. And last time he said they only got a chance to spend a few days together because we know what happened, and she relapsed and left the halfway house and had to go back to prison. So now she doesn't have to go back to prison. She gets to come to John's house. And so now he's saying he doesn't really know much about his wife because he hasn't spent a lot of time with her. So they are probably going to be in the getting to know one another phase. He knows her sister better than he knows her, truth be told. But, Christiana obviously has been eating good while she's been incarcerated because sis has gained like a whole 35 pounds and she looks healthy. She looks, heftier, of course, but nonetheless healthy. And her vibe is a lot different this time than it was the first time. I guess the first go around, she didn't really know John. And so she wasn't really trying to sleep with him or be completely intimate with him like that. But I guess over time, he's kind of shown and proved that he's worthy of that. Because I think they got it in before she went to the halfway house when she was staying at his house. And the fact of him doing all that he was doing for her mom and her sister, I guess, he's earned her trust and she's ready to get it in because she kept talking about getting it in. Now, while they're in the car, John gets a call from a bill collector, and the bill collector was basically wanting to know where their money was at. And so John tells him or her that he, just got the check and that he will pay them. He's going to pay them today or something like that. He tells her that, having Tara and your mom at my house has really put a strain on the wallet. So he tells her that he's been kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's just kind of is what it is. But Christiana wants to know, speaking of Tara, she hasn't tried to come on to you, has she? And he tells her no. And I don't know why he didn't tell her no, why he told her no, because that was the opportunity for him to get it out on the front end, let her know, hey, there were some moments between us, but nothing happened. And he could have cleaned it up, like, part of the reason, I made her leave, I don't know. He just could have told her something rather than lying to her and her finding out later. But anyway, she is just ready to jump his bones. And they know that when they get home, there are going to be people at the house waiting to receive her, waiting to see her. And so they make a pit stop in the woods, kind of like, what's the other couple's name? The man with the tooth missing and the real skinny girl, when they stopped and had sex in the woods before they made it to their Airbnb. But anyway, they did one of their moves. They pulled over, and I'm assuming they got it in on the tree, and that was that on that. But I think that we have talked about everybody. I'm sorry, I'm lying. Marcelino and Brittany. Really quickly, we learned that, a while ago, Brittany's mom, Cindy, was in an explosion. She got a call from her dad, and her dad told her that, hey, your mom has been in an explosion. She violated parole to go and see her mom, and luckily nothing happened. She got there, and her mom basically drank so much that she doesn't really remember how the explosion happened. We learned that her mom also tried to kill herself later on because she felt like nobody cared. And Brittany basically tells her mom that she is not alone and that her life is important, because although she has tried to take it and has been in an explosion and is still here, that she's here for a reason. And Brittany is determined to get her mom out of this mental funk that she's in and to encourage her to do better. Now we're done. If I forgot anything, y'all make sure that you leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video. Also, like I said, comment in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel, and I will be back tomorrow for Love and Marriage Huntsville. And you guys have a fantastic weekend. Be safe And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.